Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Pine, and as president of the Adirondack Park Institute, I want to welcome all of you to our 2021 annual awards gala. This gala is to benefit environmental education programs at Paul Smith's College Vic and Suny Esf's Adirondack Interpretive Center in Newcomb. We had hoped to hold an in-person gala this year, but unfortunately, CDC guidelines would not allow for that. I want to thank everyone, all of our donors who have supported this gala in spite of its being virtual. I also want to sadly note the passing of Jean Hutchins at the age of 99. Jean was the wife of our founding president, Frank Hutchins, and a very generous supporter of the Adirondack Park Institute. Our gala is also dedicated to the memory of Peter Hornbeck, Adirondack businessman, philanthropist, community activist, and friend. And most of you, or many of you, either own or know about his boats. I also want to thank Paul Smith's College for sponsoring this event, and thank Paul Smith's College professor, Dr. Melanie Johnson, who graciously agreed to help us with the technical logistics for this production. Thank you, Mel. It's great to have you do this. I'm getting this is our major fundraising event, and I want to thank all of our donors, as I said before, so generously supporting our efforts in holding this virtual program. Our gala donors are listed in the program and on our webpage. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I thank you for your generous support. We have a wonderful program this year and a lot of ground to cover in 1 hour. First, I am pleased to welcome a pre-recorded message from our state senator, Dan Stec. Dan has participated in our awards gala many times over the years, and we are very grateful for his support. Dan? Hello, Dan.
Thank you for inviting me to the annual gala of the Adirondack Park Institute. I'm sorry we couldn't be together for this event. I congratulate the API on putting together a wonderful program, and I salute your efforts to raise funds for educational programs at Paul Smith's College Vic and SUNY ESF's Adirondack Interpretive Center in Newcomb. These centers are community hubs which are important to our local residents and seasonal visitors to learn about and appreciate the wonders of the natural world, fostering a sense of community that binds us all in the Adirondacks. I want to congratulate Caroline Draper Lussi on receiving the Frank Hutchins Environmental Education Leadership Award. The Lussi family has done so much for Lake Placid and the Adirondack region, and I'm thankful to them for that. I congratulate Dan Berggren on the Community Service Award. Dan has shared his story freely, and the communities of the Adirondacks and elsewhere have benefited greatly from it. I thank the API for dedicating the gala to my friend Peter Hornbeck, who we will not soon forget. Not only was Peter a successful businessman, he shared that success with the communities of the Adirondacks with his philanthropy, his fierce dedication to the region, and let's not forget his art. I want to say a word about Curt, holder of the Draper Lussi Endowed Chair in Lake Ecology and Paleoecology at Paul Smith's College. We are so lucky to have this world-class scientist, author, and professor in our region. I look forward to learning about your latest projects. Finally, I want to welcome 2 new college presidents, Scott Dalrymple at Paul Smith's and Joanie Mahoney at ESF. I wish you well and look forward to working with you both. Please enjoy the evening, stay safe. I look forward to the next time we can all be together in person again.
Thank you, Dan. That was very nice. I appreciate that. The presidents of the colleges overseeing the centers have agreed to be honorary chairs of this 2021 gala. And we had invited each of them to share their thoughts with us. Both have pre-recorded messages. Dr. Scott Dalrymple, president of Paul Smith's College, has a pre-recorded message prepared for this moment. Dr. Dalrymple. And at this point, we're still, there we go.
Good evening. I'm Scott Dalrymple, president of Paul Smith's College. I'm sorry that I'm coming to you and a pre-recorded message via the internet instead of in person because I was very much looking forward to the gala. Largely because I'd get to wear a really nice tux, and in person I look just like James Bond. But seriously, I'm very pleased to co-chair this virtual event tonight, along with my colleague at Suny Esf, Joanie Mahoney. And I want to thank API for its efforts to raise funds for environmental education programs in the Adirondacks. At the VIC here at Paul Smith's, we've used that funding to support the very popular Breck-Chapin Native Species Butterfly House program. Both visitors from our local communities and seasonal residents have enjoyed the butterfly program, learning about the natural world in a fun and entertaining way. I want to recognize and congratulate Paul Smith's College alumnus and college trustee emeritus, Caroline Draper Lussi. The Lussi family has done so much to support the college and the region. I thank you for your belief in the college and the generous support you've provided, not only financially, but with your time and your caring. Longtime trustee Frank Hutchins was also a tireless advocate for the college, and I believe it's truly fitting that you are receiving an award named in his honor. I also congratulate Dan Berggren on his Community Service Award, and I look forward to hearing from our very own Curt later in the program on his latest research. Again, congratulations to all, and many thanks to the API for its work in raising funds to support environmental education in the Adirondacks.
Thank you very much, Scott. We appreciate that. Joanie Mahoney, who is president of ESF, also has a pre-recorded message. Joanie?
Good evening. My name is Joanie Mahoney, and I have the honor of serving as the 5th president of Suny Esf. I am very pleased to be a co-chair of the Adirondack Park Institute's annual awards gala, raising funds for environmental education in the Adirondacks. I'm sorry that we can't be together tonight in person. I welcome fellow co-chair and new Paul Smith's College president, Scott Dalrymple. I look forward to working with you and the college in the future. At Suny Esf, we are proud of our world-class research. One of our prime goals is finding ways to spotlight that work and communicate what we have learned with the rest of the world in useful and understandable ways. At the Adirondack Interpretive Center, we have found a way to do just that. API's program funding has helped us through programs like Summer Naturalist, Artist in Residence, and the Huntington Lecture Series. We take our role as a member of the community very seriously. We're proud to partner with the town of Newcomb and the Central Adirondack community to bring these programs to local residents and visitors to the area. We believe that telling the story of the natural world is an important responsibility, and we thank you and the API for supporting us in this mission. I hope you all have a great evening, and I look forward to being together in person before too long. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanie. We really appreciate your taking the time to prepare that message. We have invited our program directors at the interpretive centers to say a few words summarizing their season. These two individuals spend a great deal of time and have done have made a wonderful effort to make sure that these two entities are run well and that they are continuing to improve every year. We'll start with Charlotte Demers, Suny Esf AIC, who is managing the Newcomb Center. Charlotte?
Thanks, Frank. First of all of us at Newcomb campus also want to send congratulations out to tonight's honorees. So Ms. Lussi and Mr. Berggren, both very deserving of these awards. So congratulations to you. As far as the Adirondack Interpretive Center programs this summer, a bit of a mixed bag. I think like a lot of other attractions in the park, we saw a little bit of a dip in people actually coming into the building. However, we saw record use of our trail system out here. So we did have to do some alterations from our original programming because of COVID. But I think we had a pretty successful summer. programs that API supported, the first thing that we did, we kind of did a slow open with our mud season movies in April. And they were a success because people were so excited to just get out and have some in-person programming. And we had a wonderful young intern this summer, Riley Scales, who conducted weekly public programs. She worked with the Newcomb Youth Program. We had a couple of high school groups here earlier in the season. And overall, she was just a very excellent representative of the Newcomb AIC, of ESF, and of API as well. API sponsored our Artist in Residence program, and we hit the jackpot this summer with Christopher Rozier. He was in residency for 6 weeks. This painting behind me is testament to his talent, but in addition, he did plein air painting on our trails where he interacted with guests. He did some open studios, hosted some open studios. He did oil painting workshops that really showed his, he excelled in teaching, which is wonderful because that is what he wants to do. He wants to be an art teacher for either high school or grammar school students. And the surprising bonus of having Christopher here was that his wife, Madison, is also an artist. She deals more with natural fibers and ceramics, but she led a walk for us on natural dyes, and we scheduled a natural dye workshop, which immediately filled. So then we scheduled another natural dye workshop. In both of those, they used indigo dye on reusable tote bags. And Madison also did cyanotyping. So cyanotyping, you might know more as sun printing. And if you were in the Adirondacks this summer, you probably recognize the challenge of doing anything that involved the sun this summer. So I wouldn't say that was a huge success, but people got to go home with paper that they had created, samples that they had pressed, plant samples that they had pressed, and they were able to create these really nice little cyanotype images. So again, overall, we were pleased with how the summer went. I think we did really well adapting to the continuously changing landscape that we had out there. And we're enormously grateful to API for their continued support. I truly believe that the programs that we offer are impactful and meaningful for the people that attend them. And now we're in the process of gearing up for school groups this fall. We have 10 different school groups that are scheduled to visit in September and October. And we hope to continue to teach these up and coming young professionals and young students and the public about the natural history and the cultural history of the park. And we'll be able to continue to do that thanks to the support of the Adirondack Park Institute. So thank you very much for your support over the past year. We truly do appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And I want to thank you for all the great work you do. I mean, you keep that place going, and it's very much appreciated. We will now hear from Scott Van Leer, who is Paul Smith College, who is running the VIC. He started last year and he's pitched right in and doing a great job. Scott, thank you.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to another virtual Friday evening. But rest assured, we had a very in-person summer to VIC. We had hundreds of people every day. We expanded our programs this summer, delving more into recreation than we had in the past. And we were really blown away with the number of visitors we had. We did have to pare down some of our larger events, just as the AIC did, but we still had probably more people than ever visiting the trails and the butterfly house. So I want to focus on that. That's something that we're able to put on thanks to API, thanks to your donations. And we kept that open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And we had about 100 people a day come to the Butterfly House. And if you didn't see the news, we had some good press. It made some national press. It was exciting in the butterfly world anyway. Is that one of the monarchs we tagged 2 seasons ago was the tag was found in Mexico. So think about that for a second. You know, we always read about the journey of the monarchs, but we show that one of the monarchs we tagged from the Paul Smith College Vic Butterfly House actually made it all the way to Mexico. So that was really exciting for us. So with that, we look forward now to the fall. And we're starting with a lecture series that will run every Thursday evening at 6:30 and Saturday afternoon at 2. And that begins on September 25th with Bill Weber and Amy Vetter. And they'll be speaking on In the Kingdom of Gorillas, Success and Challenges. And that's another great program that we're going to have at the Paul Smith College Vic. And just so happy to be here this evening. And hopefully next year we'll all be able to gather in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks again for all the work you do to keep the Vic going. We are very pleased to welcome our guest speaker, who is holder of the Draper Lussi Endowed Chair in Lake Ecology and Paleoecology at Paul Smith College, Dr. Curt Steger. We're lucky to have this world-renowned scientist and author living and working in our region. And I'm most excited to hear about his latest research. Dr. Steger, thank you for being with us.
Right.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, start the screen share here, and then I'll introduce kind of what I'll be trying to do. Want to make sure this works. Okay, let me just check with everybody. Could somebody speak up and let me know? Can you hear my voice okay while I'm doing this?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hear a lot about Caroline tonight, but I'll give you a little bit of background. You'll hear some more too, and I'm sure a lot of you know her already. But every year I meet with her and give her an update on some of the things that I've been doing with students and faculty with this endowed chair position that she helped create. So this year we didn't get to do it, but I think this is actually really great because usually I just bring this printed out list of things and she just hears the words or whatever. This time you get Caroline, you get to see the pictures of what this looks like with kids in the field and what it really does. So those of you that know Caroline will know that she's been a champion alpine skier, ski instructor. She helped organize the alpine events at the Winter Olympics. She has an honorary doctorate at Paul Smith College. She's got multiple awards in addition to that, including the Generous Act Award from the Adirondack Foundation. She's generated scholarships for students as well at Paul Smith College and Northwood School and elsewhere. Basically, one of the most amazing things she does is empowers other people to do really great things too. So she's changed my life, especially with this Draper Lussi chair in paleoecology and lake ecology. It's a $1 million endowment, a lot of which she donated personally and then helped raise the rest. So this is an amazing contribution to the college because research funds from places like the National Science Foundation are hard to come by and erratic. You can't depend on them. But students at the college have come to depend on a reliable source of these kinds of funds that allow this research to happen and that is distinctive for the college. So I'll give you just an overview of some of the kinds of things that has happened with this support from Caroline, basically allowing me to have extra time away from the teaching and basically build the research into the teaching. So the basic story is we focus on lakes, not just the surface where you're paddling around or fishing, but underneath where the sediments build up layer by layer over decades, centuries, even thousands of years. And in those sediments, are the ecological memories of the lake and the surroundings preserved in tiny fossils that you can see under the microscope. This kind of work gives you unique insights into the natural world and history. And one of the great things about that, in addition to being interesting for the students, is it sometimes gets national attention. So, for example, here, this is some work we've done with students on Walden Pond in Massachusetts that got attention in the New York Times. What we do is basically take little smears of mud, layer by layer, look under the microscope. What we normally do is look at things like this on the very bottom in the lower left. That's a diatom. This is a little single-celled alga with a glass shell that falls to the bottom of the lake and is preserved, going back ages and ages. And depending on the kinds of diatom in the layers, you can infer things like climate change, human impacts on lakes, and things like that. There are also pollen grains that tell you about the vegetation. Sometimes we get really unusual and fascinating things like DNA in there. My colleague Leanne Sporn at the college and students, we all went out on Lower St. Regis Lake one winter and pulled up the sediment core from the lake and found DNA of yellow perch dating back 2,000 years into the history of the lake, which sound kind of cool just on the face of it, but it was extra cool because yellow perch are supposed to be a recent invasive species. So those of you that live around here might have heard some of the controversy, but anyway, that also got attention nationally, Wall Street Journal, things like that. So Caroline, here's some of the things that I've been doing more recently. One kind of project, which I think would I'd have difficulty doing without support from you, is the kind of project that where you investigate a question and then it turns out not to be the case. So you don't get a juicy result, right? Well, one question we had was, all over the country, we're hearing a lot about a decline of insects, especially bees and pollinators. And one speculation was that these new kinds of pesticide, the neonicotinoids, might be traveling through the air like acid rain, coming in from the Midwest and falling on the region and damaging the insects. So well, if that were happening, it would probably show up in lake sediments. So over the past year with students and colleagues elsewhere as well, we've been surveying lakes around the park, pulling up sediment cores and looking for the neonicotinoids in there to see if they're polluting the region. The good news is we didn't find any. And we tried it in multiple ways using multiple labs. And so that's a little bit of good news for getting a negative result. Charlotte might recognize down below Myth Wolf Lake. So in the most remote lakes we could find did not have this. So that was good news. Here's another great thing that we've been able to do because of you, Caroline, and this involves Paul Smith College students. These are sort of advanced level STEM grant students who are basically doing extra work to get involved in the sciences early on in their career. So here are two gals who were freshmen last year. They had a passion for investigating microplastic pollution in the environment. And I said, well, I can support you, come up with the project and we'll make it happen. So they knew a lake, the Sacandaga Reservoir down in the southern Adirondacks. They knew it well, and they knew there had been some pollution in the area. So we did the trip. We took the sediment samples, and again, they didn't find the microplastics. And that's because they weren't there. So again, here's a negative result that wouldn't have made a paper, would have been hard to get a grant for. This only would have happened with the kind of support you've given us, Caroline, and they are now on fire about paleo. So this covered the travel, the equipment, things like that. There's a sediment core we pulled up through the ice. They're going back probably multiple decades. And then again, rather than planning in advance, we're going to get this product and make this exact project. Instead, it was, we have the resources, you students come up with a passionate project that'll get you really motivated. So another idea was to go into the northern Adirondacks to the Altona Flat Rock, which is a unique remote ecosystem up there. There's a small pond in there called the Dead Sea. A nice romantic name. No one has ever studied sediments under there. As far as we know, it's got a long record of climate and forest ecology in the region. So we hoofed it in there, along with SUNY Plattsburgh geologist David Franzi. We had new sampling equipment because of the funding, and we turned them loose. They drilled holes in the ice, lowered the sampler down, brought up the sediments. We also invented a whole new sediment sampler that could be lowered through a small hole in the ice. Here's the result of that. And we were able to pay for carbon-14 dates to tell how old this was, back centuries. Well, so there's the first long sediment core with the history of the Dead Sea in it. Another great thing about this is these student projects can often become peer-reviewed publications. So in order to do that, you need not only the high quality equipment, but you also have to date the sediments. In this case, this was a sediment core study from Bear Pond. We got lead 210 dates and had several students be co-authors on a peer-reviewed paper showing the recovery from acid rain in Bear Pond, which is an amazing success story that we can attribute to the Clean Air Act. Here's a chance for these students to go into the field, not just having read about acid rain, but actually contribute to our knowledge about it and showing basically how effective the Clean Air Act has been in reducing acid rain here in the park. It used to be ground zero of acid rain. And Bear Pond near the college was one of the classic acidified lakes. It's now recovering. It was in the sediments, and the students are now on a peer-reviewed paper documenting it. Couldn't have done it without your support. So the story just goes on and on. We look for lakes that have interesting stories that could have an impact on people, like Bear Pond story. In this case, we've also gone to Massachusetts, studying Walden Pond, and also a neighboring pond that Ms. Thorndike knows also. It's called White Pond. Henry David Thoreau loved this pond and actually said he thought it was more beautiful than Walden Pond. It's been having water quality problems recently. So we went down there with students, took sediment cores, and were able to document for the local lake association that there are certainly water quality problems happening, and they happen in recent decades since heavy development started in the watershed. So that can serve as a well-documented warning to the folks that something needs to be done. That this is a human impact story, not just a natural cycle, something like that. So you can see how much the kids enjoy this kind of thing too, not only to do this kind of work, but also to have it be used by people. So again, this turned into a peer-reviewed paper. There's White and Walden Ponds with student co-authors. And that requires publication fees and travel as well, all covered by your support. Then, why stop with nerdy scientific reports? We also do as much public outreach as we can. It not only spreads the knowledge to people who care about this, but it benefits Paul Smith College too. It gets the word out there that we do this kind of thing and makes people want to come to the school. So, for example, with Walden Pond, we did the research. We had the peer-reviewed paper in the works. One of the faculty at the college says, you ought to make a graphic novel about this. And one thing led to another. Now we've got beautiful, glossy, graphic novels of the research that Paul Smith's students and I have been doing on Walden Pond that tell the story of the pond and in the environmental issues facing it, that we donate to the visitor center there, run by the Department of Conservation and Research, and whatever it is, DCR, in Massachusetts. They hand this out to school kids at the visitor center there on the shore of Walden Pond. And we've heard back that high school teachers use it as well. So this is part of the funding as well. One of the other things we're known for at Paul Smith's is combining the sciences and the arts. And until COVID shut us down temporarily, let's hope, we had a science, art, music festival every April at the visitor center, where we would alternate scientific presentations with musical performances and other ways of using the arts to communicate science. Dan Berggren's been to those, and we're hoping he's also honored tonight. So it's great to have you with us too, Dan. But anyway, this is also supported by the funds that Caroline has provided. So what's next? Let me give you just a couple of these, and then we'll finish up. But one thing we've done is turn the campus into a long-term ecological monitoring site. We call it a Phenology Trail. The phenology is basically how animals and plants respond to the seasons, the passing of the seasons. And that changes over the years because the climate is changing. So I've built into several of the courses activities that the students do that involves collecting information on what the plants and animals and the lake are doing year after year after year. So, for example, in the spring, we now have many years of information that's now being compiled for a publication, showing that the robins are coming back earlier, the spotted salamanders are migrating earlier in the spring, but some other species seem not to be responding, like the red maples are basically blooming at the same time they used to years ago. So we're also crunching the numbers of the local climate. And so this bar chart here just shows different months of the year with how much warming has happened since 1970. And in yellow, I've got showing the 3 months of spring, March, April, May. There's not much change then, which then makes sense. The region is warming, but that is the time of year without a lot of change. One of the biggest periods is actually right about now, September and October. There's a lot of warming going on there. And so sure enough, fortunately, we've also been monitoring in the fall. And so this is built into the freshman biology class. We go out to the lake, collect plankton every year, and measure the temperature of the water every year. And then they monitor this through the whole semester to watch the seasonal changes, but also keep the data going back years. And now we have enough information to show that the lake has been warming in September in concert with the climate. So these are, as far as we know, one of the most comprehensive studies showing not just climate change in the area, but what it means for our plants and animals. And this is built right in student courses, all thanks to you. Two other quick projects. One of them is we're also going farther afield from the Adirondacks. This is down at the Albany Pine Bush. We have an alum there, Neil Gifford, who runs that center. He invited us down to do a sediment core study there to look at the history of the pine bush, which has never been done. And this is students working on this for a senior capstone. They're going to be looking at charcoal, showing how often the area burns over the past, and the pollen to tell how old the pine bush is. That'll be peer-reviewed publication. We're collaborating with a pollen expert at Concordia University. That's her there, Janine Saint-Jacques at Concordia University. This is a project that was about to launch last year till COVID nailed it. We're taking students to Italy to do something we call the Dante Project, and made an acronym out of it, Disturbed and Naturally Transformed Ecosystems. It was basically a lake survey in collaboration with the Apennino National Park and scientists there. These are two students who we tapped to go there. This was all funded by the endowment. We were going to look at the history of lake studies. The Secchi disc that we use to measure water clarity was invented by Angelo Secchi right on that landscape. Dante was from there as well, and it happened to be the 700th anniversary as well. So we thought the timing was perfect, and we had the students read Purgatorio from Dante, where he had these steps heading from basically hell to heaven, going up this mountain of purgatory here with all of the deadly sins on it. So we thought, well, why don't we make the project in the spirit of blending science and the arts? We're going to make a Dante index using the 7 deadly sins of impacts on lakes. So we had heavenly lakes and the ones that are in big trouble with all of these ways that humans impact lakes. And then we were going to document how that was done in the different lakes in those mountains, expecting that we were going to find the most heavenly lakes at the highest elevations with the fewest impacts. And just as we were about to go, we were shut down by COVID. So, again, thanks for the resources to have planned that, but it didn't totally stop us. So we did come up with a tentative Dante index of the most pristine ones using letter grades like you use on an exam, A to F for failure, and then putting next to the letter the number of impacts that we know of. So you can have a pristine, pretty much pristine A1, or a troubled F3 like that. We are now going to try to apply this here in the Adirondacks. And the first study we've got here is a project going on right now, and we'll wrap up here. This is Abby Charlevois. She's doing her senior capstone on a sediment core from Heart Lake, which looks like it's in pretty good condition. She's going to document that with a sediment core to look at the past couple of centuries of ecological conditions in Heart Lake to see if it's as pristine as it looks, and then put a Dante index on it. So, as I said, I normally, Caroline, I give you this long list of things. I will give you that too, but I wanted you to see some of this stuff. I mean, hopefully you've seen the students' faces. It's just such a transformative and empowering experience for them to be able to do these things. And it's all thanks to you. You've changed my life and many lives through me. So I'd like to say grazie mille to you, Caroline, and well-deserved of the Hutchins Award tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Steger. That was fascinating. I have a limited background in ecology from the Chesapeake Bay area, where some of my professors were doing paleoecology. And so this is fascinating work, and really appreciate it. Thank you. Frank M. Hutchins, thank you. Frank M. Hutchins is our founding president and was a longtime Paul Smith College trustee. The API trustees created the Frank M. Hutchins Adirondack Environmental Education Leadership Award to honor and recognize exceptional leadership in fostering educational programs and experiences as a foundation for stewardship of the park's natural resources and sustainable communities. To say a few words about this year's awardee is API trustee Liz Thorndike. Liz? You're muted, Liz, you're muted.
Mute. Oh,
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Frank Hutchins, after whom this award is named, was a leading citizen of Rochester.
Mm-hmm. Feet not working.
And
Joanie, we're losing it.
Liz, we're having problems with
the Friends Group for the Interpretive Centers at Paul Smith's.
I think she just left us.
Frank,
Yes, Dan.
I have a copy of Liz's remarks. Would you like me to read them?
Yeah, I think that would be wise, because I think she just actually left the Zoom.
She's got internet issues.
Right.
Am I okay to go? I'm on there, huh? Okay.
Dan.
This is Liz speaking. Congratulations, Caroline. You are most deserving of this award, which I hope has been delivered to your home. The API created the Community Service Award several years ago to recognize outstanding contributions to the Adirondack community. To introduce this year's awardee is I've got the wrong. I don't have Liz's thing.
Liz is back. Should we try to have her?
Yeah, I apologize to everybody. I thought I had Liz's comments, but I don't. Darn it. The glories of Zoom. Let's try and bring Liz back.
Can you hear me,
We
Dan?
can now, yes.
Dan,
We can hear you,
can you
Liz.
hear me?
Yes,
Okay, let me go back to the beginning. It'll only take a minute. This will go as planned. Frank Hutchins, after whom this award is named, was the leading citizen of Rochester and trustee and benefactor of Paul Smith College for many years of the Adirondack Park Institute, the Friends Group for the Interpretive Centers at Paul Smith and at Suny College of Environmental Science and Forestry's Newcomb campus. Still coming through? Hello?
yes, you are.
Okay. This award recognizes the leadership qualities he demonstrated in supporting the value of environmental education for this and future generations. Teaching generations to care became the motto of the Adirondack Park Institute. Caroline, Frank would be so proud that you are the recipient of this year's award. Caroline's longtime support for Paul Smith and the Adirondack region at large have benefited so many, and it is a model of community leadership recognized by all who have been privileged to know her and to work with her. Caroline, please accept this award on behalf of the many people that have been helped by your generosity and your goodwill. Frank Hutchins would surely be pleased that you are receiving this award today, and I am honored to present it to you. The award reads, the 2021 Frank M. Hutchins Environmental Education Leadership Award is presented to Caroline Draper Lussi in recognition of generous philanthropy and support of education in the Adirondacks. On this day, September 17, 2021, Adirondack Park Institute's virtual award presentation. We look forward to hearing from you now, Caroline, if you can join with us.
Thank you, Liz. This is the award, and I thank you all for this honor. And I just have a little message that when I was a student at Paul Smith College, the faculty was unbelievable. And anything that I've done in business or in preparing for life, I owe a great deal of credit to the faculty at Paul Smith. And I am so excited that Paul Smith College still has a fabulous faculty with Curt Steger. Now we have to talk a little bit personally about my time with Frank Hutchins. Frank was a very, very special friend with his wife, Joanie, who we will sadly miss, but they were a terrific team together. I got to know them when Joanie would always say, when are we going to have a golf tournament? I want golf tournament and dinner. And so as trustees, we always had fun, and she was a very special part with Frank. But when Frank and I were on the board together, one day the board was asked to go and look at the Vic and see if Paul Smith should get involved. I walked with Frank. We looked at things. We looked at, was it feasible for the college to take on another responsibility? But Frank and I believed in each other, and we had very, very similar ideas and support. But he's the one that went and did it. And he was very, very special. Now, my very first day that I went to the Vic, I went as a volunteer to plant ferns with my daughter-in-law. The black flies almost took us over, but we waited it out. We lived with the bugs and they carried us away, but we were not deterred. All of the time that I have been at Paul Smith's, the pleasure of education and the need to support someone like Curt Stager started with the president of the college at that time said, Caroline, we're going to lose Curt if we don't do a chair. I had no idea how to do a chair. Well, I had been trained by Frank Hutchins to take on big challenges, and therefore I did. But now there's only a little personal note that I would like to share with you about Frank and Jeannie. When I was at a wedding at Hanover, New Hampshire, and you know, Frank was a graduate of Dartmouth as my son. And so we're at this wedding and this lady came up to me and she said, do you know Frank and Jeannie Hutchins? And I said, of course. And she said, you know, as a little girl, they would come every year for a reunion to our house. And I would sneak out of bed and sit on the stairs and listen to the conversation. It was always very spirited, very worldly. And she said it was, as a child, it was my favorite night of sneaking downstairs. And she said, but the night ended always with singing and smiling and goodwill. So no one went to bed, whether they agreed or disagreed in their time. So for me, it was a very special to know Frank and Jeannie and to know that they had wisdom, they had integrity, but most of all, they had kindness. And they taught me a lot to absolutely try and do something else for other people. I would like to thank Liz for introducing me so nicely, Mel Johnson for making sure that we were all in order, and Dan Fitz for organizing this, and Frank Pine for being the leader. Thank you so much, and also congratulations to Dan, who is, I wish I knew better, but I do not, and I'm hoping to. And thank you to everyone for this wonderful award. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate all that you've done and all that you do. And we congratulate you. It's the most deserving award. And I see that it has been delivered to your house, so you have it. And that's great. Moving on, the API created the Community Service Award several years ago to recognizing outstanding contributions to the Adirondack community. To introduce this year's awardee, Dan Berggren, is API trustee Joan Burke. Joan?
Yes.
You're on.
On behalf of the API Board of Trustees, it is a special honor for me to introduce Dan Berggren as this year's recipient of the Community Service Award. And I do think that, Caroline, you should introduce yourself to him. I think you and he would have much in common. The words on the plaque, which Dan has already received, speak of his many contributions to the Adirondack community. I definitely agree with Bill McKibben that Professor Berggren is the sound of the Adirondacks, and perhaps would even go a step farther to say that Berggren has become the authentic spirit of the Adirondacks. For thousands of Adirondackers and Flatlanders alike, Dan shares advice that extends far beyond any blue line. For as long as I have known him, Dan Berggren has been encouraging community building because he speaks truthfully and out of kindness. We have an ambassador not only for the development of ADK communities, but for lives of integrity and balance that will keep such communities together. As Dan asked in his song, and he probably knew I was going to mention this one, as Dan asked in his song Tahaz, a song ostensibly about Mount Marcy, but perhaps also about my displaced hometown. And this is his question: if we work together, who knows what can be done? But in the same song, he answers it, and the answer he provides is spoken both literally and metaphorically. There are men and women who stand above and rise above the timberline. One young man from Umstedville in Essex County certainly grew up to do just that, standing above and making a profound difference. And all of us in API, thank you, Dan Berggren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you to all of you. Joan, to those at the Adirondack Park Institute, all the supporters of API. No matter where I sing or who I sing for, creating a sense of community is my goal at every concert. It's the reason I sing. In 1975, I got out of the Army and came home to Trout Brook Road in Olmstedville. And that year, several things happened that changed my life for the better. One was working in the woods and singing in the Minerva Community Chorus with surveyor Bill Brannon, a wonderful teacher. Another was discovering Adirondack folk songs, thanks to the work of Essex County historian Marjorie Lansing Porter. It inspired me to write songs about friends and neighbors and the communities that supported me. The other life-changing event was meeting Pete and Ann Hornbeck, who had moved to Olmstedville while I was overseas. They became my Trout Brook Road neighbors, my friends. For 45 years, I've seen how a couple can support one another, support local education, and support local employment. I've witnessed Pete's wicked sense of humor turn toward me, his passion for paddling, his pride in his daughter. I've known his love and dedication to wilderness, and learned how friends can nurture and support one another over the decades and across the miles. This song came about after my first paddle in my Hornbeck Lost Pond boat years ago. Pete thought of it as his theme song. One with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe. One with the water, as old as time, and each time it's new. I'm as anxious as ice in the winter, waiting for the big thaw, so I can run like the river again, even when days are raw, as sure as the sap that flows through the trees, as sure as the spirit of spring. I want to be one with the water, and free as a bird on the wing. one with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe, one with the water, as old as time, and each time it's new. Care and worry behind me, hope and expectation downstream. Thoughts are floating like clouds far above, drifting in a distant dream. Then the splash of a beaver tail wakes me, makes me aware of stern and bow. I'm already one with the water, balanced in the here and now. One with the water, sailing or rowing or paddling a canoe. One with the water, as old as time, and each time it's new. As old as time, and each time it's new. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dan, and congratulations for all your fine work. I see the award was delivered to your house. This gala has been dedicated to the memory of Peter Hornbeck. I want to thank you, Dan, so much for your wonderful dedication to Peter, and for your wonderful singing tribute. That was very special. Thanks again. We have come to the end of our awards program. I want to congratulate and thank our awardees, Caroline Lussi and Dan Berggren. I want to thank Dan for the wonderful dedication to your friend Peter, and to Curt Steger for his presentation, which was fascinating. The Presidents Dalrymple and Mahoney for co-chairing this year's gala, and for all of our generous donors for supporting this event, raising funds for environmental education in the Adirondacks. I wish all of you peace and good health. This has been a very interesting gala, short and Zoom as it was. So good evening, everyone. Stay safe.